The Singing Zombie. Selena Corey is easily one of the most unsettling enemies introduced in Resident Evil Requiem. Not because of how she looks, but because of what she remembers. Before the outbreak, Selena was a patient at the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, described as graceful, soft-spoken, and almost always near the lounge piano. Staff notes and environmental clues suggest she wasn't just humming randomly, she genuinely loved music, often singing and even dancing on her own. But after infection, that part of her didn't fully disappear. As a zombie, Selena doesn't behave like the typical mindless infected. Instead of pure aggression, players first hear her low, broken vocalizations that sound disturbingly close to singing. It's not coherent, but it's rhythmic enough to feel intentional. That's what makes her terrifying. It implies that something human is still trapped inside, echoing through whatever the virus left behind. Gameplay-wise, she's less about difficulty and more about atmosphere. Her presence completely shifts the tone of any area she's in. That distant singing becomes a warning sign, building tension before you even see her. There's also another singing zombie in the game, just in the other side of the care center, and it was mentioned that the other singer was her rival, and both of them suffers a personality disorder that can only be described as the main character syndrome. The Chef. The Chef from Resident Evil Requiem is the perfect example of what happens when obsession survives the virus. Before the outbreak, he was the head chef of Rhodes Hill, known through kitchen logs as a perfectionist. Cleanliness, precision, quality, those were his identity. He took pride in every dish and every plate had to be flawless. Then the outbreak hit and that identity didn't disappear. It twisted. Unlike typical zombies who lose all structure, the chef retains fragments of routine. His mind is deteriorating, but it's locked into one thing: cooking. He paces the kitchen, muttering to himself, criticizing imaginary dishes. But the horrifying part, he no longer knows what meat is. Logs like Chef's last menu confirm that he's completely lost the ability to distinguish human flesh from food. Dead patients, staff, he sees them as ingredients. To him, the outbreak didn't end service, it just changed the menu. Visually, he still wears his stained uniform, clutching a butcher knife, not like a weapon, but like a tool. And that's what makes him disturbing. He's not attacking out of rage, he's working. The Hooded Man. Before infection, he wasn't just anyone. He was a trained assassin working under Victor and the Connections, already dangerous before the virus ever touched him. But what makes him different is the strain. Unlike typical T-virus victims, this mutated variant doesn't fully strip him of control. Instead, it amplifies his aggression while preserving his core skills: stealth, tracking, and precision. So basically, he can still hunt and do his mission, and his mission is clear: eliminate investigative journalist Alyssa Ashcroft before she exposes Victor's operation. Notes scattered throughout the game reveal just how calculated he is, observing Alyssa and her daughter Grace for days, studying routines, waiting for the perfect moment. And when he strikes at the Renwood Hotel, he killed the hotel manager instantly, shrugging off gunfire and relentlessly pursuing Alyssa even after being temporarily contained. And he succeeds. Even as his body begins to fail from sustained damage, he finishes the job, killing Alyssa before finally collapsing. The Blind Zombie. Before infection, this was a patient at the Rhodes Hill Chronic Care Center, already blind with eyes wrapped in bandages, but after exposure to a mutated T-virus strain, that limitation didn't make it weaker, it made it deadlier. Instead of sight, the blind zombie relies entirely on sound. Every footstep, every reload, every object you bump into becomes a trigger. And once it locks onto a noise, it charges with overwhelming force, striking with attacks strong enough to one-shot even high-tier enemies. What makes it terrifying isn't just the damage, it's the silence it forces on the player. Encounters with the blind zombie completely change how you play. Do you walk slowly and risk getting cornered, or run and give away your position instantly? The tension doesn't come from seeing it, it comes from hearing it react to you. Narratively, it reinforces a core idea in Requiem. The virus doesn't just mutate bodies, it adapts them. What was once a disability now becomes a weapon. Blister head zombies. Blister heads are basically second-stage mutations, very similar to the Ganados in Resident Evil 4. Created when already dead corpses reanimate under a mutated T-virus strain, they come back far more aggressive, faster, and significantly more durable than standard zombies. But what really defines them is the mutation itself. As the virus evolves inside the corpse, abnormal red blood cell growth triggers a massive tumorous swelling in the head. The skin begins to stretch, then peel back entirely, exposing a grotesquely altered brain. Alongside that, new rows of teeth form, paired with an elongated tongue, turning the head into something that feels less human and more like a monster. In combat, blister heads are relentless. They charge aggressively, flailing their arms in wide chaotic swings that make them unpredictable and hard to dodge. And unlike normal infected, simply putting them down isn't enough. If you don't destroy the head completely, they can keep coming back. That's where strategy comes in. The game introduces a preventative measure, injecting hemolytic poison into corpses before mutation fully takes hold. This destroys infected blood cells and stops the transformation entirely, adding a layer of resource management and foresight to survival. They're also a clear evolution of the Crimson Heads from the original Resident Evil, sharing that same idea of kill them properly or pay the price later. Blister-born. If blister heads are already a problem, the blister-born are what happens when the mutation doesn't stop. This is the rare advanced stage, where the virus fully takes control and pushes the body beyond anything recognizable as human. Once the initial cranial tumor evolves, the infection spreads across the entire body. The host becomes larger, bulkier, and covered in swollen, blister-like growths. Its mouth mutates further, filling with additional rows of teeth, turning it into something built purely for consumption. While slower than standard blister heads, that trade-off comes with overwhelming power and durability. Its most dangerous ability is its acidic blood vomit, capable of dealing massive damage in a wide area. But the real threat comes from what happens when it's damaged. If one of its tumorous growths bursts, it releases toxic fluids that can trigger double mutation in nearby infected, essentially turning a bad situation into complete chaos within seconds. In terms of design, they represent the peak of uncontrolled mutation in Requiem. Not just stronger enemies, but catalysts for disaster. Raccoon City Zombies. The Raccoon City zombies in Resident Evil Requiem aren't just remnants of the past. They're proof that the nightmare never really ended. After the missile strike that supposedly wiped the city out, many infected were buried beneath the rubble. But instead of decomposing, the mutated T-virus preserved them. Decades later, when Leon arrives, they emerge. This strain allows them to hold onto fragments of their former roles. Construction workers still grip their tools. Police officers continue patrolling the ruins of the RPD. It's a haunting echo of a city stuck in time, repeating its final moments over and over again. Certain infected display heightened aggression and even weapon usage. Chainsaws, blunt tools, anything they can get their hands on. And then there are the most terrifying variants, the BSAA soldiers. These were highly trained operatives sent to retrieve Elpis from the ARC lab, but repeated missions ended in complete failure. Many were killed, others infected, and by the time Leon encounters them, they've become something far worse. These zombies can still use firearms and tactical equipment, turning standard encounters into full-on combat scenarios. Narratively, they represent the lasting consequences of Raccoon City, because even after decades, the city is still alive, and it's still trying to kill you. Garmer. The Garmer is one of the most advanced and terrifying bioorganic weapons in Resident Evil Requiem. Created by the connections inside the ARC facility, this isn't just another infected animal. It's a mass-produced weapon, reportedly sold for around $30 million per unit, designed for pure pursuit and elimination. At its core, the Garmer is an evolution of Umbrella's classic Cerberus, those infected Dobermans from earlier Resident Evil games. But visually and functionally, it's on a completely different level. Its body is larger, its limbs more elongated, and its features far more exaggerated. The fur is longer, the build more imposing, but it still retains key traits like exposed ribs and that pack hunting instinct. Garmar units don't just attack, they coordinate. They track targets with precision and pursue at extreme speeds, reaching up to 60 miles per hour. This is fully showcased during the motorcycle chase with Leon, where multiple units are deployed and still manage to keep pace effortlessly. They leap across rooftops, close massive gaps, and absorb heavy damage without slowing down. Every encounter feels less like fighting enemies and more like being hunted by something engineered specifically to catch you. That's 8 minutes. Thank you for watching, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe for more.